in South Africa, for the immediate family that are left behind after the death, there's a lot of uncertainty about the future, especially if there isn't a written will. Angelo Coppola speaks to a prominent Johannesburg lawyer about wills and the possible consequences if there isn't one.
So what are the three key positive issues that arise when a will is actually in place?
Because we have the ability to have the freedom of testation, we can choose how we want our estate to be administered. So the key things would be, one, that you would be able to decide who your beneficiaries are, and two, how you would divide up the assets and the estate in terms of percentages, whether there would be specific items that you would leave as a bequest to particular people. You would be also able to choose who you want to be your executor or your executrix. And I think I'm going to go into a fourth one. Importantly, who would be the guardian of your children. I think those would really be key points in formulating and signing a will.
So what could go wrong if there isn't a will in place? What are like the three key main stumbling blocks to that will not being around?
If you die intestate, your estate would then be administered according to what we have as the Interstate Succession Act. And what would happen there is that the things that could go wrong is beneficiaries would have to be identified. There's a particular order of beneficiaries, so it is limited to a certain extent, and I just have to expand very quickly. But for example, if you have a spouse and children, they would be the immediate beneficiaries who would inherit. But then you may have children that we don't know about, illegitimate children that come along, and the will may be contested. Secondly, you would not have your own executor that you've appointed, who would then be responsible for administering the estate, and it would be left to the Master of the High Court to do so. And thirdly, if there are no beneficiaries, your estate would lie with the state. It would be bestowed to the estate, or forfeited, should I say, to the estate, where it would lie for 30 years until a beneficiary appears or doesn't.
Now, everyone has horror stories in any line of business. I'm guessing in your line of business, horror stories are a dime a dozen. Give me a broad sort of picture of the biggest horror story you've had to deal with.
There are many horror stories, whether there's a will or there isn't a will. Particularly, we have many instances of forged wills that appear, disputes, etc., that arise, or conflicts. A young entrepreneur in his 30s, multi-billionaire, made a fortune of money, and had a very aggressive divorce. Acrimonious, ugly, hated his ex-wife. And they had a young daughter, and they got divorced, and he continued building a lot of wealth, and he didn't change his will. When he passed away, as he had not changed his will, his ex-wife inherited everything. So he was responsible for looking after his mom. She ended up with nothing. Because there was so much acrimony, the ex-wife didn't help her, and the ex-wife ended up with billions and billions of rands that he would have been not happy about.